So, as Her Majesty leaves the dais, this historic beach, until so few minutes ago, the focus of 1,000 pairs of eyes, a million pair of eyes, including you people on television, watching on television. Now it is empty as the wavelets come in on the rising tide.
Next of all, Her Majesty will be escorted from Gold Beach by General Sir Mike Jackson, commander of Free UK Division. Up above the seawall, where those who couldn't parade but have attended this parade nonetheless are there awaiting her. Behind her now, applauding her, the population of Arramonches, who gave up their places on the tribune to stand on the sand and watch all this. And Lance Corporal Darren Walker pipes Her Majesty up from the beach. Learned his piping before he joined the colours. 200 years ago, one of his ancestors, he tells me, was a piper as well in the army. But he's not just a ceremonial soldier. As a gunner, he was aboard a Challenger in the Gulf War. Prince Charles, whom you saw, moved by all he saw. A lot of these men, as young men, lied about their age to come over here and fight, adding a couple of years or so on, so they could fight for their country and come to liberate this country and begin to break through Fortress Europe.
We all know from the programs which have been published the incredibly demanding schedule which Her Majesty and members of the royal family have been obliged to pursue during the last 3 days now. And yet it is self-evident that the Queen herself is reluctant to leave this gathering.
35 musicians of the regimental band, the Paras, led by Sergeant Wilson, provide the last, final musical accompaniment to this extraordinary parade before the sunset ceremony. As Her Majesty leaves Arramonches, the ceremony is over. For my generation, the post-war generation, the war was the extraordinary thing that our parents did and which they don't often talk about. And D-Day, a feat of arms and logistics and bravery on such a scale, seems incredible. But in ordinary places like Arramonches, here along the Normandy beaches, before my generation were born, extraordinary things were done. An army landed from the sea to begin to end a war, an army manned by the ordinary brave young men of their generation. Our generation, who find it hard to believe ourselves, will pass on to our children their true story.
And with the Queen's departure, so ends the ceremonial commemoration of a day 50 years ago. There are those who will tell you that this will never happen again. Well, on this scale, perhaps not. But at the Menin Gate in Flanders, the last post is sounded yet in honor of those who fell in the First World War. Every year since 1920 on Anzac Day, the children of the village of Harefield in Middlesex lay flowers on the graves of Australians and New Zealanders of both world wars. Next year, on this day, there will be those who will return to Arramonches, to Merville, Ranville, and the Pegasus Bridge, and other places dear to them in memory. The numbers of those who were there then will decline, for the tide of time is as relentless as the sea itself. But the memory and the honor to those who made these things happen 50 years ago may not and never will be forgotten, for they are written indelibly into the history of the modern world.